feeling was shock as well. Then it was disbelief and just disappointment in how the school has handled this situation, pretending that nothing has happened.
That was Dorata Mani, whose 14-year-old daughter was one of several girls at a New Jersey high school victimized by fake AI images created by a classmate. At least that's what's been reported.
Yeah, let's dive deeper into this one with our NewsNation newsmakers, Dr. Lauren Wright, Colby Hall, Jesse Weber. Thank you all for being here once again. So Jesse, let me just start with you on this and the legality of this, because I think a lot of people heard this story, you've read the articles, and are confused why the legality of these photos and the punishment for the creator or creators isn't made clear. I mean, does this not go so far as to constitute child porn and the distribution of? I mean, what say you on this?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that New Jersey is one of those states that doesn't have a law in the books that specifically addresses these kind of deep fake child pornography cases. I mean, we've seen it, laws passed in Minnesota and New York, but New Jersey, I think probably after this is going to have to realize they have to get with the times. And there's no federal legislation banning deepfake videos. I mean, we have to be clear, this is a new technology. The law has to keep up with technology. And one of the most disturbing aspects of this whole case is not only the fact that we are in a world where this is happening, but the ability and the ease for high school students to maybe use it against their high school classmates. Law enforcement can't even find the images to track it back down to who used it. So this is a new technology. Law enforcement has to figure out what to do. And now prosecutors and also legislators have to figure out how to keep pace with this.
Well, I want to know what Lauren thinks about this. And Colby, obviously, we want to talk to you, too. I think that there are some people wondering, what is the difference, even though it might be a lot more realistic, between somebody using AI technology to create a fake nude and putting on, cut and paste from a magazine and using other editing tools to harass classmates? Why is it getting so much attention? Is it because it's AI and AI is trendy right now?
Yes, and I think schools are hiding behind this excuse of, well, it's a new technology, it's AI, the regulations have to keep up with it. It's still abuse and harassment and extortion of another student at this high school, and these kids need to be expelled and there need to be consequences for them. I mean, that to a lot of people looking at this is cut and dry. But to Jesse's point, there are a lot of states besides New Jersey who are ahead of the curve on this. My home state of California is one of them. They have laws. But if we're holding our breath for Congress to take action, I mean, half the people can't even unlock their iPhone without a staffer. So we're going to be waiting a long time. But certain states are better, and schools need to be much more forceful about this. They should know how to discipline their students.
Colby, is this really opening up a larger conversation about social media and its dangers? Because I just think a lot of times we're hearing stories and it's AI, 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 and it's vilifying the technology again, when this is all rooted in something much deeper than the access to editing tools.
We're living in the future. Like, the technology has sort of gone beyond where we can kind of like litigate and manage. And I think this is a horrible story, but it's a really good story that we talk about it, because it's going to force us to handle these issues and deal with them. Now, what you said earlier, I think is right. People have been able to Photoshop stuff like this forever, but to be an expert on Photoshop, it required a little bit of intelligence and good judgment. What AI does is it gives those tools to almost anyone, and a lot of people don't have that level of judgment. So I do think that we need to sort of deal with this with alacrity, because this is just one story. It's going to start happening more and more unless we quickly get something on the books and say, yeah, this is harassment. You can't do this. You're going to get expelled, and we move on.
Yeah.
But if I could just jump in real quick to Lauren's point, I think this is one of those bipartisan issues. The same thing with UFOs. If that can get Republicans and Democrats to come to the middle, how could this not be an issue that everyone should agree on?
On planet Earth, nonetheless. Right. I mean,
you make a great point.
But I don't think any schools, to be fair, are sitting there saying, well, we don't know if this is considered harassment, or we don't know if this is considered distribution of child porn. I think that schools are in a really tough place. No, I mean, if you get into education today, considering how much teachers have to deal with, you really love kids. I think that sometimes we're vilifying the schools when they're trying to catch up with the technology that they don't even understand, let alone most of the journalists out here today who don't understand AI either, because they're not doing all the research. It's too hard. We don't have time. So I think that we have to just make sure that we're all coming together on this.
We know one of those students is calling for legislative change, but with all that's going on in the world, we'll see if, how quickly we get to that. Speaking of getting on to, let's get on to the second topic. Representative Jason Smith, he is a Missouri Republican, threatening tax exemptions are under scrutiny for the nonprofit universities, college groups that are criticizing Israel right now. But his comments do carry weight as he's the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. Jesse, I'll start with you on this one again. Is this unconstitutional? This is certainly a slippery slope argument to be made.
So look, it's a balancing test, right? It's the same conversation we had last time. You know, people have their constitutional rights to say what they want, to protest, as long as it doesn't directly endanger the lives of others. And it becomes a question here, is it education versus propaganda? One of the things we talked about last week was the idea of, you know, is this supporting terrorism? Is this supporting Hamas? Not necessarily, but I'll tell you what I think this very much is the same conversation about donations being taken away, students not enrolling in these universities. It should be a wake-up call. And universities have to say, well, A, do we agree with 100% what the actual language is, the rhetoric, and we're going to defend our students? Or is it, hey, listen, we don't agree with what they're saying. We agree with their right to say it. If that's the case, then this should be a wake-up call and say, maybe we need a re-education. Maybe we need to have a debate. If we're going to be losing our tax status, or we're going to be losing donations, or losing our students' abilities to get jobs on the outside, maybe we have to do something here. And that is, in and of itself, should be a wake-up call to these universities and schools about what's happening.
Well, Jesse, you point to, you know, if it's not leading to somebody getting hurt. But the fact is that we've seen video of Jewish students being mobbed, being pushed around, being bullied, having to stay locked up in a dining hall or a library because of an angry group of people who is shouting from the river to the sea. Colby, this is a cultural issue, and I think that it puts people in a really hard position because a lot of these protests look reminiscent of the Black Lives Matter protests. And in those cases, these conversations never even happened. So the school is thinking, well, how in the world do we stop them from having free speech and speaking out about what they think is a blatant crime, that Israel is pounding Gaza with missiles, even if they're saying anti-Semitic things? This isn't going to be a simple answer.
No, I mean, your question is exactly right. It states just how complicated this is. And, you know, river to sea is a long-held anti-Semitic chant, right? There's a lot of people out there that are chanting that who don't know that, right? And, you know, the irony here is that colleges have forever been really, really cautious about safe spaces. That is to say, like, teachers had to warn if they were going to teach something that was triggering, that made students feel unsafe. And yet we've gotten to this point where, you know, there's actual sort of anti-Semitic chants and Jewish students are feeling threatened. Now, this legislator who's suggested pulling funding, I think it's an effective shot across the bow. I don't think it's really anything will come from it. I think there's a little bit of hysteria. I saw a commentator say that we should shut down universities, which I think is absurd. But I do think the young people need to be educated about the history of anti-Semitism in the world, like Jesse said. And I think the more that we talk about this and the more that we do a reset with youth culture, I'm curious what Lauren thinks, because she's on campus right now and she's probably got more insight on this.
Yeah. And also, Lauren, you know, we know that in 2010, the Supreme Court upheld that law that made it a crime for anybody to donate or support to a terrorist organization. Hamas and Hezbollah are on that list. So I think a lot of Americans watching this segment are saying, well, how does this not apply to, you know, these groups and these universities?
Well, it applies to student groups, and the funding behind those is really unclear. But I actually think the way we got into this mess as universities is by not fostering enough free speech and not encouraging dissenting opinions and having scholarly and civil debates about them. Colby is absolutely right. A lot of opinions have been stifled on university campuses. And so now we're in a position where this really matters. The core purpose of a university, in my view, or one of them, is to foster free speech. But there have been universities that take sides on certain issues. That happened a lot a couple of years ago, but not on others. And so it creates this environment where the university is seen as an opinionated institution, which is a tremendous problem. So I actually think they're more at risk of losing tax-exempt status for not allowing for freedom of speech and assembly than for not cracking down on these things, as absurd and offensive as these chants and protests are.
Yeah, well, and again, there are a lot of people who think on this side of allowing these pro-Palestinian demonstrations that some would call blatantly anti-Semitic, that they have every right to march, just as we've seen other marches, especially over the past few years. Let's get to our third topic. It's a lot more fun. a lot more easy to discuss.
Please.
This is a car dealership in Rochester, New York, and some new parents left their baby with the car salesman so they could test drive a car. I don't understand why dad didn't just take the drive or mom by herself take the drive. Was this their cousin? I don't know.
Who wants to take this?
Oh my gosh.
Can I just say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Amazing salesman, right? Imagine if this guy, they trust him so much with their baby. He probably got them to get like the surround sound system, the big tires. The best comment I heard online, insane collateral. And that cracked me up. That one I lost it.
It's true. But what am I missing here? Because obviously mom and dad got to the car lot with the baby in their current vehicle. I'm hoping it was in a car seat. Why? Can you not put a car seat in a new car? I mean,
look, the car seat, the wrangling car seats is difficult. I mean, I don't blame these parents at all.
Do you have experience with this?
Strap those things through and unhinge, and you're like, some of these car seats are like, it takes a genius to like unhinge them. So I kind of think like,
good point.
Also, the parents got a break from their kid. Maybe the kid was like cranky and tired.
No,
like,
I bet you the guy.
I mean, you have take turns driving the car. I'm sorry, I have a 3-month-old. I can't even hand her over to another person for 15 minutes to do this without worrying about it. I can't imagine handing my child off to a stranger while I test drive a car. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's something major we're missing here, like they've been longtime friends, or
this
one of them works at the car lot.
Is a really sweet person and trusting, and that speaks to the heart of America. Can we have more good humans able to trust? Right. You can entrust them with your baby.